What's up, everybody? I'm Gary from Every Week We Follow. As we know, I'm very, very honoured to have Emilio, who's a Fulham fan and a fellow fanalist on the show today. So welcome, Emilio. If you'd just like to introduce yourself and we'll get cracking.
Hi, Gary. Thanks for inviting me to the show today. I'm Emilio, Fulham fan for 45 years for my sins now. So I've gone through the dark ages, but also some recent good times as well. But, I've got, obviously we are both fellow fanalists, that's the right way of describing ourselves. So excited about that mini project and obviously connecting with all the other fanalists around the country. I've started getting my own podcast off the ground. You can follow me on the Fulham Pulse. It's early days. I'm just trying to get that brand, get that exposure. But I do a lot of shows on other podcasts. I used to do a lot on Cottage Talk, another established Fulham podcast for its fans. And just have a bit of fun along the way, watch the club through its good and bad times, and just really have a bit of fun. And as we were saying off air, the Finalysis piece of work, I think we should just have fun whilst it's just got off the ground, essentially. It's only been out there for, a couple of months? Yeah. Let's have some fun, enjoy ourselves, be part of that journey, and who knows, it might come on to bigger and better things for all of us going forward. But I'm looking forward to doing the show with you today, reflect on the game on Sunday, and let's just talk all Aston Villa versus Fulham for the next half hour or so.
Absolutely. Well, I think for me, with the Finalysis stuff, what it's done this. It's been able to connect us with other fans to have, and I will say this, like sensible fans where you can have an honest debate where it's not the cesspool of Twitter and X where you are being abused.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't really interact with that stuff anyway, but it's just nice to chat to like-minded people who are football fans who obviously are passionate about their clubs.
Absolutely.
We can debate it and see it from hopefully both sides. And I think that's...
Yeah, exactly. And look, bear in mind, let's give ourselves some kudos because we went through quite a strict and quite extensive selection process to get this far. So the fact that we were chosen as one of the 11 representatives for our clubs, how many Villa and Fulham fans are there nationwide? Tens, hundreds of thousands. And look, we were selected as 11 for each of our clubs. We should give ourselves a bit of a pat on the back going through that quite strict, process. So overall, I'm quite proud of the fact that I was selected, and I want to make a difference and have a voice, across the country, and hopefully globally at some point as the product goes further afield.
100%, and hopefully it'll give us the platform to do that. I think obviously I can't speak for Fulham fans, but we've spoke to various Villa fans about the Finalysis stuff, and I think there's a lot of not agreeing with envy, but there's a lot of excitement around it. The fact that there's a forum and going, how did you get involved in that? And I would have been, loving that. Obviously, Sky Sports are promoting it a little bit more now. It's on the fan club, and people can sign up to it and become founding fanalists, which is great. We need that data, and it's going to hopefully drive that debate and chat, and it'll pick up. So I'm super excited by it, and I think hopefully. Once it goes live in November properly, I think that's still on course for that. And it's, I think, match day 10, they did say, didn't they?
Exactly.
And the data's in there. I think we'll see. I imagine Sky will get behind it a little bit more. There'll be more adverts. There'll be this big boost of it, won't there?
I think so. Exactly. And you can't really make any predictions on that one match here, one man. You've got 10 matches of consolidated feedback, average ratings. It makes the data more real and more viable to have a healthy debate rather than just on a match-by-match basis, which I don't think adds much value, which is why we're probably not seeing as much exposure at the moment. There needs to be some credible, meaningful and sustainable type of data.
Well, I think that's the key, isn't it? At the moment, with the people that are on it, there's nobody responding to stuff because it's not live. I think what we need is that interaction with the general public to be able to drive that debate. And I think it will open up great topics of conversation and great debate. Hopefully in a safe environment, because we just spoke about the Twitter cesspool, and I think that is the whole point. We've had Zoom meetings with Michael McIntyre where he's explained why it was set up, and it's about to produce that safe space where we can have that debate, but it's not a case of people aren't going to end up with online abuse and hatred, and that's what we don't want, right?
Exactly, absolutely.
Because fundamentally, we're here for the football, and I think the majority of us just love that, right?
Exactly. It's been on the side.
Trolls, we're flying. So, right, let's get into it then. This game Saturday, we're still yet without a Premier League win, mate. You've had quite a good start to the season. How do you think? Let's go through that. Explain a bit about your start to the season.
I'm comfortable, right? I think we have had a good start to the season. We've had 3 tough matches at the beginning. We had Brighton away, never an easy place to go to at any time of the season. Man United, we knew they couldn't be any worse than last season, even though they beat us twice in the league last year. We knocked them out of the cup. But like you said off air, that's the worst Man United side I can remember many a time. But we broke that duck and managed to get a draw. But if anything, another 20 minutes, we would have won that game.
Yeah.
We then, we all know what happened against Chelsea. I won't want to dwell on to that. But overall, we dominated that first half and should have been out of sight. But it is what it is. And, but subsequently, we've beaten Leeds at home in an important game in the team around us. Beat Brentford at home comfortably last weekend, and we're doing well in the cup. So it's been a steady start to the season, despite the difficult start. And we've got 8 points on the board. I think I would have taken that at the beginning of the season. I think this year was always going to be a touch harder than last year. I think we've got record points tally of 54, which I thought was a pretty impressive statistic. But we fell away again. The last 3 months of the season, our consistency wasn't very good. We've got this habit of doing well up till February, and then we just lose a bit of steam. We haven't got the depth in the squad. The players are completely knackered, and we start to be very inconsistent and erratic. And we just needed a couple more wins in that end last 9 games, and we may be in Europe. But is the squad good enough to play in Europe? Question mark. But I'll take, mid-table is where we are at the moment. Good start, some discreet signings. We've kept the spine of our team over the summer, so let's push on and try to make enjoy the season. But it was always going to be harder, in my opinion, because Tottenham's, Man United's were going to get better. The promoted teams we're seeing, I think, are better than the ones from a year ago. And the teams around us, they're all going to keep taking points of each other. I don't think you're going to see, apart from the top 3 or 4, that any from 6th down to 19th, 20th, they can all beat each other. And that's going to be the challenge this season. And
I think that's the beauty of the Premier League, right?
Yeah.
That's why it's so competitive. And now, like you say, with the newly promoted sides having good starts, they look okay. I mean, I imagine that they will fall off towards the end of the season because their squads won't cope with the demands of the Premier League. But from an outsider looking in at Fulham for your start, mate, I know I don't want to dwell on the Chelsea game, but that was absolutely that decision is. I mean, you don't want to say there's corruption in football, but you kind of go, I'm not. And goals change games. You were on top. You go 1-0 up. If you're 1-0 up at half time, we're not saying that the Big Six are a cartel that managed to kind of, and that's a derby for you, right?
Big game.
It's a big game. So it's frustrating. But I did watch a little bit of that Fulham game last weekend, and you go 1-0 down, and we've just lost to Brentford, the Brentford game. Well, obviously, we've just lost to them twice, and I thought they looked well organised. And when they scored, I thought actually they were going to be difficult to break down. But I thought you did really well. I thought you kind of, 2 goals in 8 minutes or something like that. Was it?
A couple of minutes, 2 goals in 2 minutes. We scored. We gifted them that goal. I thought Brentford. We did a double against them last season, but they've lost a lot of key players this year, and we gifted them a goal. And fair enough. I think our heads didn't drop. I think that was the key thing. We said, okay, there's plenty of time to go. Be patient, play our football. Opportunities will come. And within 10 minutes, I think it was about 10, 15 minutes, we scored and equalised. And 2 minutes later, scored a second. And to be honest with you, if we got that 4th goal was disallowed for a foul, you see some of those given, some not given. And again, it goes, I don't want to dwell on the VAR and what their roles are, but I've said it on other shows. VAR will eventually replace referees. I can't see what VAR are making executive decisions that the referees are more than capable of doing. And what is the role of a referee? I just see AI and all the new technology coming into place that you're going to see a slightly different dynamic in 5 years' time. But again, it could have been 4-1. If that had gone in, I think we would have gone and probably scored 5 or 6. But be down tools, protect the lead, don't have any injuries, don't pick up any stupid yellow cards, and just close the game out. So it was a comfortable 3-1 win. But Brentford looked a bit poor that day, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. I agree. It highlighted to me was how poor Villa are at the moment, if I'm honest. And I was so obviously I always watch the team that we're playing next. Like that's what I try and do and go, what's going to happen. So that's why I watched that Brentford game. And I said to you off air, if I looked at the fixtures before we kicked the ball at the start of the season and thought, right, because we've got quite a tough running after this game. Going up to Christmas, November and December are tough for us. If we play like we have how we've started. So when I was looking at the fixture at the start of the season, I thought, right, okay, games we need to pick up points, and home games are always, I think every team would say, we try and get our points at home, and we've had such a phenomenal record at Villa Park up until we lost to Crystal Palace. We hadn't lost in 22 games, and then you just go the last 4 at Villa Park we've won. Hardly convinced that it's been 1-0, 2-1. 3-1, and so that not massively convincing games, but we have beat you in the last 4 visits to Villa Park.
Yeah.
And so you go, yes, that's 3 points I'm going to put down for. But now with the start that we've had, there's still in our dressing room, I think it's not quite right. We've had all the transfer saga during the summer. We've had the Monchi exit, which I'm hoping now we can draw a line in the sand. Now, we had I'm not going to say it's a fantastic result last night in the Europa League, but we did manage to beat Palhinha 1-0. It was hardly convincing, if I'm honest. I think our 2 key players where our goals have come from in the last 3 seasons are 2 of our problem players now. They're not performing, and that's Ollie Watkins and Morgan Rogers. And I was on Sky Sports this morning talking about Morgan Rogers. I had a very heated debate with Jay Bothroyd about it because he was like, it's the whole team. I was like, well, no, okay. But if you were talking about last night's game, that's where this has come from. But I'm judging it over the last 11 games, really, because Rogers, from when we lost in that Crystal Palace semi-final in the FA Cup to now, has been really poor. He looks like he's really struggled. And he won the Young PFA Player of the Year, and I don't know if that's gone to his head a little bit.
Maybe.
He went away with England and played brilliantly against Serbia for England. He got man of the match performance for me, and I thought in that moment I was like, yes, it's there. We're going to see some progression now. And then he's just been absolutely awful. I mean, the stats don't lie. Like against Everton, he had, I think it was 67% pass completion. He had no ground duels won, no dribbles completed. And I think it was 1 forward pass completed or something like that.
Wow, is that all? Okay.
It was one of the worst performances in the Premier League. And you go, okay, we can all have off days, fine, right? And that was after the international break. Then we faced Brentford. He didn't start. He comes on in the cup and he was dreadful again. Like it generally looks like he doesn't want to be there. His body language, it just looks all wrong to me. And then last night, honestly, he gave the ball away 29 times.
Goodness me. Okay.
29 times, right? No pass. I think no, again, dribbles completed. Only 2 successful completed passes in the final third. And again, his body language, I can forgive all that. I can, Emilio, because it's kind of, players can have off time, and form is not permanent. It dips, right? And it's a confidence thing. I understand that as a football fan and as a football player, right? But what I can't get behind is watching players walk around a football field at the top level. I just don't think it's acceptable. I don't think you can put, like, it's almost where they do the bare minimum. Like 4 times last night, Rogers went to go and close the ball down, but slowed down just before he got there. And you go, no, you've got to commit to that. I'd rather if you commit to it and don't get it. Every Villa fan or every football fan that supports any team, if you see a player giving 110%, the fan will back them. That is basic. So I'm a little bit nervous about Sunday's game, if I'm honest, because on paper we should absolutely probably win this game. I think we've got a good enough squad, but football's not played on paper; it's played on grass, and we've got to do the right things. And at the moment, we're not doing the right things. We look susceptible to giving the ball away sloppily in the final third. We still haven't quite determined what our best back 4 is. We keep changing it. There was a guy who sits next to me at Villa Park who said to me yesterday, "Do you ever notice that when our left back doesn't finish the game, so whoever starts, whether it's Ian Matson or Luca Dean, like, they don't complete the game. Like, so I'm a firm believer as a fan that your back 4 you don't mess with. You pick.
Exactly.
The manager can pick what he thinks is his best back 4 and stick with it, right? And then you can have the criticism, but as long as they're not massively underperforming, but you've got to try and build some fluidity in the team and have a backbone and a core. That's what most players do. You mentioned it about Fulham. You keep your spine of your team. If you can do that from back to front, you've got a great chance. The rest of it's all kind of smoke and mirrors because these players are usually creative players, and they will often turn the game on a sixpence, like your Morgan Rogers. But we've got Ollie Watkins who's not performing, hasn't scored a goal, doesn't look anywhere near like scoring a goal. He had a stinker of a game when he came on yesterday. He's missed a penalty. I really worry that confidence in our team at the moment in the final third is a problem. Defensively, we're not bad. I think we kind of, yesterday Palhinha tried to put a high press on us, and we dealt with it okay after the first 5 minutes. And I was excited that we started with Daniel Marlon, and he played really well in the first half, held the ball up really well and caused problems. But then he was taken off after 55 minutes. And I don't know why, for Morgan Rogers and Ollie Watkins, and they both come on, and we actually look weaker. So
Okay.
I'm nervous.
Yeah, I was going to say that I've read a few articles about it was ridiculously that your manager's under pressure. Is that
Oh,
real? It can't be, surely.
no, it can't be. I think that is purely what it is: clickbait media coverage. I'm an Emery in fan, and I said on Sky
Yeah.
Sports this morning, I would rather get rid of our whole squad, right, and keep
Yeah.
Emery because.
Yeah.
And I had a bit of a debate on TikTok this morning with an Arsenal fan about whether Emery's world class or not. And for me, I think he is. Like, I know if you're when you base him on the Arsenal job and the PSG job, you're talking high pressure jobs where success has to be at the forefront of everything. But as a Villa fan, he's been our best manager since Ron Saunders, if I'm honest. Like, he knows what he's doing tactically. He knows what he's doing with players that are young and up and coming. He can get the best out of players. I think if you give Emery the time and the resources, he will bring success. I have no doubt about that. And I would rather start again, hit the reset button, and have 2 or 3 years of finishing mid-table to put another Champions League push on. Because what we achieved in the 23-24 season under him, and he only started in November, so he missed the first 3 months of the season. We went from 17th to Europe, and then to Champions League in the best part of 12 months. And with the same team that Steven Gerrard had.
But he was terrible. I remember it was the game with Craven Cottage. When Gerrard got sacked that night. We absolutely battered you that day. You looked dead and buried. And Gerrard had to go, and he went that night, didn't he? And then Emery's done a fantastic job for you. And I'd like this brand of football. He is top manager, to be honest, is to get to Villa into Europe, Champions League, and competing with the best teams in Europe. That's not, that takes a lot of skill and expertise and experience to do that. But like you said, that formula is not right at the moment. And they said there might be some disruptive players in the dressing room, a bit of bad attitude. Maybe players they said maybe don't want to be at the club. Like Martinez, I thought he was destined to go in the summer, but the fact that you've kept him is a positive. But is he there against his wishes? In which case, he's going to become a disruption to your team, and he's the type of person who can be disruptive when the chips are down.
I mean, we always say, don't we, don't fall in love with players. It's difficult because as a fan you do. But, we all know there's no real loyalty in football when it comes to players moving on. Like, it's part of the process. Like, players are going to come and go. That's the part of being a fan. You back whatever you've got. And I've got no problem with any of those players wanting to move on, wanting to force a move or whatever. If they feel they can go and play football at a higher level, best of luck to them, as long as they perform when they're at your club. What I can't stand is players downing tools to either force a move or, we talked about this on Sky Sports. They're going, well, don't you think players perform to go to these bigger clubs? I'll keep filling. Hopefully he'll come back. So we're talking about Emilio's. There we go. That's okay. I mean, I was just saying, players that you would think would want to perform to put themselves in the shop window to purchase, but that's not how the world works. Like, we know that
exactly.
That if a club wants a player, it doesn't matter how they're performing. They'll go. You could even say the agents go, no, just down your tools. We'll get you the move. I've been talking to so and so at this club. And I would love to be a fly on the wall with agent conversations and what actually is the truth and report on the truth because. What happens is we get just media speculation and we just make it up ourselves, right? And people want you all want chicks for trying to grow channels, or you want the channels want people to come and view. So I'd rather have the truth. Trust me, I'd love more guys to go. Actually, well, I'm done at the Villa. I want out. Maybe an offer came in from Chelsea. Maybe an offer came in from Liverpool. I really want to consider that offer because I think there'd be far more respect from fans with players if you had that kind of understanding of what was going on. But rather we get, you don't know. Like Jay Brathwaite said to me on Sky Sports, he's only human. I'm like, well, yes, he's only human, but as a fan, we want players that and Emery said this in his pre-match notes to the Crystal Palace game a couple of weeks ago, and this was around with the Martinez thing. This is when it came out that Man United would look like they're in for him, saying, I only want players that are 100% committed to Aston Villa.
Absolutely.
And that's nothing wrong with that, right? So whoever you've got, as long as you're 100% committed, you can have what goes on behind closed doors all you want, force your move, but perform. You can't turn up week in, week out. I don't mind players having off games, that happens, but when it's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 games and you've got terrible stats, and when I'm watching it with my own eyes going, they've down tools, they're not playing.
Exactly. And we've had players like that over the years, who don't want to sign a new contract. Harvey Elliott's a good example. He left when he was 16, turning 17, didn't want to play at the club. He wanted to force a move to his bread and butter Liverpool, To be honest, I know you've got him now. I think he'll be a good signing for you. I can't stand the guy because he was not transparent. He didn't want to play for the club, and he made those wishes very clear. And there's other players who just basically keep their head down, have got no allegiance with the fans. They're doing a job, they're getting paid, and they go home. And like Tosin, he left the club a year ago on a free transfer to Chelsea. He's won the world. He's a world champion with Chelsea, but we gave him so much stick last month against when we played him at Stamford Bridge, and he's just a nasty piece of work. And then he put a horrible tweet out there, basically saying that the Chelsea's now leveled up. So I think we beat them at Stamford Bridge last year. He basically said, stuck two fingers up to us and say, look,
so
I don't like that attitude. You're a player. We don't try to build bonds and relationships with some of the players, but just do your job, do it well, applaud the fans, leave on a high. Thank you very much. You move on. But I don't like all this negativity, lack of respect towards your fans.
Yeah.
Be quiet. Sometimes the agent has a role to play. But Harvey Elliott's a good example where he wanted to force a move out, didn't want to sign a contract, and he went on bad terms. And every time he's got to get a lot of stick on Sunday, and he'll get a lot of stick when he comes and plays at the Cottage later this season because the fans dislike him.
Because Emery, with our saga of Monchi leaving and this Roberto Uribe coming in, I'm my question mark over is because we've had the narrative as Villa fans from the board saying that Emery's in complete control and has final say on transfers. Yet we've brought in 20-odd players since Emery's been there, and yet 7 of our starting 11 against Brentford last week were Steven Gerrard's players and Dean Smith's players. So, he's not been great in bedding in players that come in. And for instance, Daniel Marlon, we signed last January, was left out of our Champions League squad, barely played any minutes. We've had Harvey Elliott and we've had Sancho and we've had Evan Gasson join the club over the summer, and they've barely played any minutes between them. It's been little snippets, and you go, and we're desperate for some injection of something into our squad.
Exactly.
So the question mark is are these Emery's players, and does he want them? And if that's not the case, then we're literally back to square one again because we haven't got the squad depth again. Even though we have, we spent 50 million on Amadou Onana last year, and he's been out more injured than he has played games. So he's adhered himself to the fans beautifully. He's done okay when he's played, but it's like he's made of glass. He's literally like he gets injured after 2 or 3 games, and you can't. If you're trying to build a squad and have some depth in the squad, you can't have players like that. It doesn't work.
Exactly.
So we are in a. I feel like we're in a very much a period of transition. I think it's going to take some time. This game on Sunday is. I mean, we've got to go into it, positive that we won yesterday, and we've got to try and build some momentum. So I hope that we can hopefully do the same. So. What we're going to do is we're going to go into our predictions now, if that's okay. Right? So we'll get that up. Right, these are our predictions where we talk about team lineups, and so I'm going to put your team up first. Oh, wait 1 second. Let's change that around. There we go, sis. So yeah, if you want to take us through it, Emilio, and let us know who we should be watching out for, and who's your danger men, and who you think is not going to cause us any problems. Give us some weak points.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit nervous about the game. I don't like playing a team that's not won in it for a period of time. I think that's Fulham tend to be a team that gifts oppositions their first away win of the season, their first home win of the season, whatever it may be. So I am nervous, and we'll talk about it in a moment. But our record at Villa Park isn't very good in recent times. But look, we've got a steady squad. I've chosen the same 11 that started against Brentford last week. So
okay.
Leno is an automatic starter for me. Great signing from Arsenal. Our defence looks a lot more secure this year. I know the only 50-50 is Anthony Robinson at left back. He's still carrying a knock from an injury from last season. He had some surgery at the end of the season. Played in the cup game earlier this week. I'm not sure he'll start on Sunday. I think he'll probably be rested, but that could be if depending how fit he is, he may start at left back. But overall, Tete right back. We've had him 3 or 4 seasons established. Anderson has now got the captain's armband. Had a terrible season last year. High expectations when we re-signed him from Palace. He's been our best defender this season. Steady, controlled. Doesn't give much away. Leading from the back. This is the Anderson we all expected. Let's hope it continues. And he's been very secure. He's been, like I said, our best defender this season. Batty alongside him, very strong, competent. Bassey's getting better. He's young, he's hungry. I like the way he carries the ball forward, and if you give him a bit of space, he's got that physical presence and that, to actually push forward as an attacking defender. But overall, that back four, and Sessegnon as left back is very competent in that position. I prefer him to play more advanced role than as a fullback. But if Robinson's not 100% fit, then Sessegnon will play. But that back four is pretty solid. Last season we didn't keep enough clean sheets, which is why, although we got the record goals points tally last year, we didn't win enough games. We drew too many, and we lost too many points from winning positions. That needs to be addressed this year. We've got to be better at home, keep more clean sheets. That back four with Robinson probably as an automatic left back, I think looks good. As far as the midfield is concerned, Iwobi again had probably his best game of the season last week. Scored a goal, assisted, was dominant. The previous game against Leeds, he was appalling. But you'll notice from here, our record signing Kevin from Shakhtar, the Brazilian left back. I've still got him on the bench for tomorrow. He didn't play particularly well in the cup game earlier this week. He still needs more time to find his feet in this very fast-paced division, competitive division, and quite physical division. So I doubt he'll start tomorrow. So I think Iwobi will continue to play in that left position. You've got your holding midfielders, Berger and Lukic, steady Eddies. To be honest, they're not a top 8 central midfield partnership. I sometimes think at home we're a bit conservative playing them both together. Berger I like. We lost Palhinha 15 months ago. Difficult to replace him, as we know, but Berger's done an adequate job. He's strong. He's not the quickest, but doesn't give the ball away cheaply and tackles quite well. Lukic, I'm a little bit uncertain of his role. He's starting to take more set pieces this year. It's better quality than we had last year, but he does pick up a lot of yellow cards. I don't see his contributions as good as it should be. Doesn't score, doesn't assist, just runs around, to be honest with you. He's one of my weak links in the team. He has either a very good game or a very bad game. But that central defensive partnership in the midfield,
I'll make note of that then. Just put that down. I'll send the notes to Unai Emery.
That's a weak link for me. I think that's central midfield. I don't think there's enough quality there. And you've got Harry Wilson on the right. Again, I like him more as an impact sub, but he had a very good game against Brentford. Scored a fantastic goal last week. Good finish from an Iwobi pass.
Absolutely brilliant goal.
I think he'll start tomorrow, but I think he's more effective over a period of time when he comes off the bench as an impact player. But
I'm a massive fan of Harry Wilson. I liked him because he was at Liverpool, right?
That's right.
Liverpool. And I think as a youngster, I really kind of thought this kid's got something. He kind of. I like the way he moves with the ball. I like the way he's got an eye for goal. I think his finishing is very good. He can be a problem player, but he's suffered with injuries, hasn't he? He's not really
exactly
as consistent as we probably would have hoped. So it's interesting that if he starts, because he's, like you say, he's been more of an impact sub for you guys, right?
Exactly. And I know he's not forcing a move, but he's made it clear that he's not signing a new contract, which runs out next summer until he's guaranteed more game time. So he's been given that faith by the manager and trust. So he's doing a good job, and I think he will start on Sunday. And you've got Josh King there, so I think one day the way he's performing, he'll be an England international in the next couple of years, and I worry that we're not going to be able to keep him longer term. So we've just got a 5 years contract extension in the summer. We've managed to tie him down to the club. He's only 18. He's a young lad.
So
he's our future. And he's in that sort of. He needs to physically, build himself a little bit. He's not a little bit lightweight, but his technical ability is amazing so far. He gifted Brentford the goal last week. He made a mistake, but the fact that the fans, the players, just consoled him, and he was distraught after conceding that. Poor pass, but I'd rather these players learn. You learn from your mistakes. We're not going to criticize him. You learn, you build, you. I think by making that mistake early in his career, he'll be sure that he doesn't make them more frequent. And therefore, best to learn from those mistakes. And the fact that the players all consoled him, gave him encouragement and confidence, and the fact that he managed to put that behind him and just pick up and started creating a lot of good runs from midfield. He likes to take players on. He's direct as well, which is good. He's quick, he's direct. He doesn't like to mess around, and his passing, his interchange of passing with the likes of Iwobi, Wilson is improving game on game. So the manager won't drop him just because he made a mistake. If anything, the manager will show faith in him and say, look, you made a mistake. We all make mistakes. You move on. And the fact that he had enough intelligence and experience, just put that behind him and press on, after that mistake. And I hope he doesn't get dropped. Smith Rowe played in the cup game on Tuesday, didn't make enough of an impression. So I think Josh King will start on Sunday, and then you've got Muniz. Yeah, which was in the process of just getting that contract extension locked down, because was he staying? Was he going in the summer? He's got better and better over the last 3 seasons. He's starting to score more goals. He's becoming more of a threat. He's built a lot more. He's physical as well as his technique is improving game on game. So you saw that goal against Brentford, which got disallowed. Yes, there was a foul, but the instinctive finish was incredible last week. And the near post was shot 100 miles an hour. No keeper would have saved that. But this guy's getting better and better and better.
Well, I mean, I think, as you described there, young players that make mistakes and stuff like that, it's how you react to them, right? So, and you won the game very, very comfortably, and it was kind of, I think there's a threat there. I think if we are not on our game tomorrow defensively, I think you'll cause us problems. I do. Like I say, I'm a bit worried that our presence in the midfield in the final third is a bit wasteful, and I think you might have some joy against us. But this is how we're going to hopefully set up. Now, this squad for me, Emilio, from the Villa, this is my preferred squad. I don't think for 1 second Emery's going to pick this. He does. He very rarely does. And judging by what happened last night in the Bologna game, he looks like he's going to back Rodgers and Watkins regardless. And I just hope that. So I think that up front for us will be Rodgers in that number 10 role and Watkins up top. But this is what I would like to see, because I think we need a little bit of impetus. But so the back four at the moment, by our left back picks itself. It'll either be Maatsen or Digne. I'm a massive Maatsen fan. I love his attacking prowess. There's a real player there. He's dynamic going forward. He's a little bit susceptible to the ball over the top into the channel. Sometimes he just switches off, and that happened a couple of times last night. But when he's on it, he's very good. He's very quick, so not many people get past him. So he has got that recovery pace. But more importantly, if we were to play Sancho on the left-hand side of that front four, they link up really well. They've got a great understanding, I think, and that was kind of we've seen snippets of it at both Brentford and Sunderland in the last week or so. So, but again, I just don't think that Emery's going to. I think that's something to nurture and develop. I don't think it's going to be a starting point. Now, Mings and Konza for me are our most solid centre-half pairing. But I don't know if Mings has fallen out with Emery. He's one of the players that's been rumoured about it. He was dropped yesterday, didn't play, and he went with Pau Torres. And I kind of understand that as a tactical change, because in Europe, the games aren't quite as physical and pacey, and Torres can deal with that level. But in the Premier League, if Pau Torres starts tomorrow, by the way, you will win this game, because in the Premier League, he's not quick enough and he's not strong enough. Teams have already started to target that. Brentford did it really well. Any bit of pace you've got up front, if you target Pau Torres, he will not be able to cope with it. He just hasn't got the legs, unfortunately. He's unfortunately one of our best ball-carrying players. My argument is you could actually play him as a holding midfielder, but I'd rather and have him on the bench and bring him on when McGinn and Kamara tire potentially while Tielemans is out. Konza for me is our best centre half at the moment. He's England quality. He knows what he's doing. He reads the game so well. He's ultimately fast becoming one of the best centre halves in the country for me. And I know that's biased because I'm a Villa fan, but he's been very consistent for us over the last 3 seasons. And he's even when he's gone into the England squad, he's looked like a proper centre half. And Matty Cash, I mean, people sit on the fence on this one. He's potentially our weak link as well, because positionally he's naive at times, and I think teams have started to target us down that left-hand side. And he plays with a lot of heart. I'll give him that. Like, he's committed, and but he gives away stupid fouls because he's out of position half the time. When he goes forward, he's not quite decisive enough, and often he'll cut back and keep possession. And you go, mate, just drive forward. Like, what are you doing? And it's a big question mark. Now, we have got Garcia on the bench, who's a young Spanish right back who played a little bit last season, but has been injured in pre-season and hasn't really featured. However, looks like he could be a player, but again, I don't know how much Emery trusts him. I would like to see him given some minutes, but I don't see that happening just yet because he's coming back from injury. And then the middle of the park, mate, it looks like where this is where the game could be won. And if McGinn and Kamara play like they did yesterday, we've got a good chance of getting through you because they're both very, very good players. McGinn plays with a lot of heart and he'll run all day long. He'll make tackles. He's, for me, he's not even our best technical player, but he's in my starting 11 all the time because of the heart he brings. Like you need a player in that who's going to raise your levels and get people going.
Exactly.
And McGinn's our man. Kamara for me is our Rolls Royce, mate. If he's on form, he goes. Not many people talk about him because all the work he does goes unnoticed. He breaks up play. He can thread little through balls into the front four. My only criticism of Kamara is he doesn't score goals. Like if he could take a shot from occasionally, because he gets in some fabulous positions on the edge of the area, but he'll always look to play a little ball into the number 10 or out wide. And I think that's kind of coached in by Emery. I don't think he wants us shooting from outside the box. If you watch any of our games at the start of the season, we look reluctant to shoot from outside the area. In fact, my mate Matty Cash started yesterday after scoring against Sunderland because it was like, what are you doing for shooting from outside the box? But, we can get some joy there. And then the key element for this is that front four. Now, we started yesterday with Marlon, Gassand, and Rodgers in that area, and it kind of worked, right? So we basically drew Bologna in, and that's what we've done for the last 2 or 3 seasons. We try and draw teams in, and then kind of break through the channel, through the lines. And when Marlon was on yesterday, he did it so well. We managed to get 1-on-1 against the defenders, and we were sucking them in and playing balls out. And he held the ball up really well, brought people into play. And after we scored the goal, we looked likely to go and get another one. We didn't have any clear-cut chances, but we were knocking on the door, and it looked really promising. It was probably the best 25 minutes we've had all season. And we go in at half time, and I'm thinking, okay, this looks like it's working. Let's stick with that. Maybe because Rodgers was having a stinker, bring Elliott on. I'd love to see Elliott. I know that he's going to get a lot of stick up for him, as you've mentioned, but I really like Elliott as a player. I think he's been unfortunate to be in a very good Liverpool side, which means he hasn't broke through to starting 11. I think there's a player there who could cause any team problems. But again, Emery doesn't seem like he looks reluctant to play him. The fact he didn't get on yesterday at all for any minutes and played Rodgers for the full 95, even though he had one of the worst performances ever seen on a football field, says that he won't start. But I'd like to see that. And Gassand is a relatively unknown in the Premier League. He had a couple of moments yesterday where he really drove at the fullback and did it really well. Got to the byline, got across back, won a corner. Very direct, and I like what I saw, but he went missing for large chunks of the game yesterday as well. Okay. I think he did that 3 times, and then he was really ineffective. And I thought, I'm just unsure. But I think, again, he's adapting to the pace of the Premier League, and he can play again across that front 3. So he can play right hand side, he can play centrally, and he can play on the left. But I'd love to see Sancho with some minutes because he has looked very lively. I think there's an absolute player in Jadon Sancho, but he has to have that smoke blown up his backside, I think, to think he's the main man, because we all know he's...
Yeah, I don't know. Strange player, to be honest with you. A lot of bags of potential, bags of talent, but doesn't really, Chelsea don't want him. He goes on a season loan here, season loan there. There's something not quite right about the player. Whether his wage demands are too high, I don't know, but he just needs to settle down, establish himself in a team. And Man United underperforming. I don't know. Villa's I think it's a good move for him, but he needs to be playing week in, week out. Like Rashford last season, I thought it was great signing for you. Very expensive. He probably created disruption in the dressing room with his wage demands, etc. But he made a difference for you when he came. But again, it was only a stepping stone as far as I'm concerned. A bigger club has come in for him. He's now gone to Barcelona and seems to be thriving there at the moment.
Absolutely. I think that's why Sancho's come to the Villa on Marcus Rashford's recommendation. I think it's kind of, look, go here. They're a good club. They'll support you because there's as you mentioned there, with Sancho going from club to club, Borussia Dortmund, Chelsea, Man United. There's a player there, but you can't be passed around 3 clubs like that and have the same issues. Like you've got to start asking questions, right? That maybe it's you. Take a look in the mirror. Do what you're good at, which is the football. And if he's got the talent. It's about that mentality, and that seems to be leaving lots of players. They make it and they go, well, I've made it. I'm earning my money. I don't need to focus on it. It's such a shame because he's got the potential to be an England superstar, but he's got to, unless you do it, same as Morgan Rogers. I think that these are 2 players, young players, that could go on and be probably world superstars. If they're nurtured correctly. But at the moment, it just looks like they're both going to fall off a cliff. So I'm hoping that we can get the best out of him. We'll see what happens. So that's that anyway. It brings us on to our score prediction. So I asked you earlier if you could get a bit of pen and paper.
Yeah.
So if we write that down, we'll just hold them up to the screen, and we'll see if you've got 1-1. Oh, okay. Nice.
I got a 1-1.
So I have gone with the same result as we got against Bologna, and that's 1-0. I said at the start of this week, if we could scrape 2 1-0 victories this week, I would be absolutely over the moon, because then we've got a really tough trip to Feyenoord in the Europa League, and then we've got games against Spurs, Man City, and Liverpool. And
that's tough running.
I just, with our current predicament, like if we don't sort it out, and if we lose this game on Sunday, I think, the psychological effect that has on the dressing room could be we're going to get battered by those big teams. They will absolutely tear us apart. So, but win on Sunday, and little two games and momentum builds, and maybe because the other thing that's really frustrating about the Villa, we always seem to raise our game against the better sides. It's really frustrating. Last season we all blamed the Man United game for losing out in Champions League, but actually there were 5 or 6 fixtures last year that we chucked away points. We were 1-0 up against Nottingham Forest away from home at Christmas, and we lost 2-1.
I do remember that game. Yeah, I remember that.
Minute. Yeah. We drew with Ipswich at home against 10 men for half a game. We drew with Bournemouth 1-1 at home after winning, conceded a last-minute goal. Those 3 games are the ones that stick out in my mind particularly. And even if you win one of those, we would have finished in the Champions League.
Champions League, exactly.
And that's killed us, really. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, we don't have the Fulham Villa games aren't always classics, to be honest with you. I think the last two games last season was a dreadful 1-0. It was a Saturday lunchtime game. I remember that was a dreadful 1-0 defeat.
It was dire.
Awful. And there was another 1-0 end of season game. I think it was 2.5 years ago. That was another dreadful performance. You scored early on,
yes,
and there was nothing else happened for 85 minutes of the game. It was awful. And then there was a 3-1 defeat. You went 2-0 up. Was it 3-0 up? And I can't remember. Jiménez scored a consolation goal a couple of years ago. But look, our record at Villa Park isn't particularly great. Every time I've been, I only seen Fulham beat Villa at Villa Park when we played in the cup game as a second-tier team when John Gregory was your manager. We won 2-0 there. That was a long time ago, right?
I remember
going to Villa Park and winning. But overall, I'll take the draw. This is a game I look at the beginning of the season. Difficult place to go. Good team, good squad, good manager. If you can get anything out of the game, you'll take it. We're playing okay. We're playing steadily. We've got a bit of confidence there. You're not playing at your best, but like you said, it just needs another. You scrape a victory or thrash us, suddenly your confidence will rise, and you'll go into those next 3 Premier League games with much more confidence and belief. But I can't predict my team to lose, hence going for a 1-1. But I'm nervous. Absolutely. If we get something out of the game, I'll take it.
Well, you would say, I think any away as a football fan, you go a point away from home is always a good result. Yeah. Right. Not to drop points is crucial. And I always have a head and heart prediction, and that is my heart prediction that we win 1-0 when we scrape it through. My head says don't lose the game. I'd take a 0-0 draw or a 1-0 or a 1-1 draw, because we've got to start building momentum. And I think it's going to take a bit of time while we sort out the dressing room and get them firing. And so if we don't lose this game, then we go into those, like I say, those tough run of fixtures, hopefully with a bit more confidence, and we can grow. So we've got one segment left. Hopefully Emilio can come back, because I need him for this bit. This is the hat trick quiz. And then we'll be done. But let's see if he comes back. Come on, Emilio, please come back. And if he doesn't, we've missed out on the quiz, and we'll end it here. Let's see if he's just come off the screen, so he's going to hopefully join back. So what do you think, Villains? Let us know in the comments. He's just coming back to the stage, so I'm just going to add him to the stage. He's back.
Sorry about that. Someone's trying to call me at work. I think it disconnects the line when I'm getting bombarded with work calls. Sorry about that.
Right. So it brings us to the last segment, and we're going to try and finish on a little bit of light-hearted banter. So this is a new segment that we've tried on every week we follow. We did it last week with Wayne, the Sunderland fan, and that is a a hat
No
trick
pressure.
quiz. Right? There's no pressure. This is a bit of fun. So, welcome to the hat trick quiz, Emilio. Right,
Okay.
there's 3 questions. Right, easy, medium, and hard. Right, so you've got a chance to score a hat trick, as they say. Right, but if you get
I
them
warn
all
you in
wrong,
advance, I'm not the best person to be on quiz nights, if I put it that way. I'll try my
there we go. I am putting you on the spot, so this is a bit of pressure. And if you do get them all wrong, then we'll just have to ship you off to QPR with the half and half scarf, mate. All right, that'll be that one. So, okay, question 1, nice, easy one. Right. Fulham's all-time Premier League top goal scorer is a man that Villa know very well from the Championship. Who is it?
Fulham's record goal scorer in the Premier League.
Fulham's all-time Premier League top goal scorer.
Oh, God, you've got me on a spot there. My head's not with it at the moment.
And he caused us problems no end in the Championship. He's
Mitrovic. That's me, Alexander Mitrovic. No,
absolutely spot on. We got there. Well done. It's
another
Mitrovic.
player who left controversially for the club, right? It's but
yes,
apparently he was trying to broker a move back to Fulham in the summer. Apparently.
Really? Oh well.
Yeah, apparently.
I always rated him absolute handful of a striker, like just real dirty, like get in your face, kind of just nuisance, kind of would score goals, and he was a problem for us when we played him. So I was quite happy when he left.
And Muniz is starting to become like that now. Just he's becoming he's reminding me of Mitrovic. It's just technique, strength, and bullying defenders. So yeah, I'd like to see how he compares against your centre defence, who are very competent and don't give much away.
It'd hopefully be a good matching. Right, so that brings us on to question number 2. Right, in 2010, Fulham made it all the way to the Europa League final, if you remember it.
Yeah.
But which Italian giant did you knock out along the way at Craven Cottage?
Juventus.
It was, yes.
Yeah, okay, what a night! What a night!
What a night! Yeah, and nothing too taxing. You see, nice and easy. These are good questions. Now, if you do get this wrong, this right, sorry, we can actually call you a true football, I don't know, fan list kind of egghead, stato, whatever. So this is, I don't know, maybe it's not hard. I think when it's a date question, I'll give you that, right? So it's how well you know your dates. So Craven Cottage is one of the most iconic football grounds in the country. Like it clearly is. It's got a lot of character. Similar to Villa Park, but slightly better. But what year did Fulham first start playing there?
Oh, good question. I know we were formed in 1879, but I think we played at, was it, why have I got early 1900s? I can't remember the exact year. About 1902, 1903?
1902. Oh, to be fair, that's really close. It was 1896, apparently.
Yeah, I remember that because it was a good 15, 20 years minimum, because it was we're the oldest London club ever formed. Because Chelsea was only formed in 1905. So,
yes,
Fulham were there much more ahead of time. But obviously, for many years, the two clubs were level pegging,
Well, Craven Cottage is that old, mate. It probably should come with its own National Trust plaque now, right? I think it should be a heritage thing. Okay, so you got that one wrong. So I'm going to give you a bonus question to try and get that hat-trick.
Okay.
Hat-trick. You've scored with your left foot. You've scored with your right foot. Now let's see if we can get that headed goal. Okay, so bonus round. Which Fulham player scored the winner in the 2018 Championship playoff final?
Tom Kearney.
Tom Kearney. Yes, spot on, mate. Well done.
Tom Kearney.
You've scored the hat-trick,
again,
mate.
I didn't want to rub that in, but look, 7-8 years ago, look how similar the teams are. So I'm just opening the door with two very similar teams.
Yeah.
And look, you've in a weird way, you've pushed on more than we've established ourselves in the Premier League. But the interesting thing is, you've got into the Champions League. You've competed very, very competently there. So we've stayed 4 years consecutively in the Premier League, but we're typically a mid-table team, and that we're a long way from getting into Europe and becoming a more competitive team in that level.
Yeah. Well, look, I think that's what you have to aspire to be. I think we all want to be in those European positions, right? That's what everyone's aspiring for. Like you said earlier, where you've got from 6 downwards, it could be anybody's. Like a little 3 or 4 games on the bounce, and you're going to be up there. It's going to be so close again this year, no doubt. And it's just about these kind of games are crucial for both teams, because if either of us can win, it kind of gives you that momentum. So, we could, if we don't win, could be in a relegation battle, and if you win, you're there and thereabouts. And the psychology starts to change, not only as fans but as players. You start believing and kind of, you take one game at a time, and you just never know. And I truly believe the beauty of the Premier League is that even against the top six, we're all capable of beating them. They can have an off day, and you're capable of creating an upset, right? So
exactly. And then you look at those other teams, Bournemouth, Brighton. They're no mugs, right? The Bournemouth have got a very good start to the season. You'll pick up form. You'll find a formula. Suddenly your form will pick up. You'll finish top 8. I don't think you'll finish lower than. I still think you're a good team. You've got a good squad. If Emery can get the best out of those players and just get them firing where they to their potential, then your position is nowhere near the level you should be. So again, fans are getting frustrated. I get that, but
the interesting stat is that when Emery in the 2016-2017 season with Sevilla started poorly, they lost the first 3, drew the next 2, so they had 2 points from 5 games, and then went on to finish 5th and won the Europa League. So I'm very much hopeful that we can do that. So,
not Sunday though, not Sunday, please.
Not Sunday. We'll go with the draw. So Emilio, that's it. That's the end of the hat trick quiz. 3 Fulham questions and a Villa crossover. We're going to hopefully try and continue that throughout the podcast. If you got them all right, which you didn't quite, you got wrong, but you did score the hat trick. We'll call you a Craven Cottage legend, mate. Thank you so much for coming on. And there's always a spare scarf in the whole end if you've ever changed your allegiance. But I don't think that happens. So, Emilio, thank you so much again for coming on, mate. I'm going to call it there.
Gary, thanks very much. Pleasure to be on the show.
All the best for the season, and maybe not so much on Sunday, but hopefully our paths will cross. And like I say, if you want to do something similar for when we come to your place, I'm always happy.
We'll do again the show later in the season. But good luck for the rest of the season after Sunday, and let's keep in touch.
Yeah, if you just stay on for a little bit while I play out the outro, mate, we'll kind of
mate. We'll do.
We'll have a chat. So thank you. That leaves me to say I didn't do it at the start. So if you're still watching after 50 minutes, if there's a little QR code down here, and I forgot to mention it, we are running a competition. You can win that signed football. If you've watched, the link's in the description. If you're not on your TV, please, £5 will get you a donation straight to Acorns and a chance to win that signed ball. But until then, I always sing us off. So apologies for this, Emilio, but it's every week we follow the boys in claret and blue.